Welcome, Dr. James Beckett, Sports Card Insights. Got some boxes from Upper Deck, and I want to talk about them. I don't know that I'd call it a reveal as much as just an opportunity to talk about what they're doing and what I like and what I think you should consider as you're making your unopened purchases. I got a Goodwin Champions box from 2024. Always like those. Some 24-25 Black Diamond, which is a little bit higher end. Then I got a 2024 PWHL, Professional Women's Hockey League, first edition. And I was wondering how I would review that. It's a first edition, but I think I have some things to say that will be of interest to Upper Deck as well as to some of you. Not everybody that listens to my podcast collects new cards. I don't as much as older cards, but I love all cards. And you should too. You're going to gravitate toward the ones you like the best. And then frankly, when I'm doing my podcast, I'm really trying to draw in from past, present, and future to give sports card insights from what's going on with these new products. And is there any kind of a echo from the past or situation that would help us understand the past based on the present or the present based on the past. So just a little philosophy there. In the Black Diamond, they were nice enough to send me an AEW wrestling box and a hockey box. And I thought, that's really cool. I can compare those. Exactly the same configuration, design. There's a lot of economies for the card companies. Like back in the day when they had all the sports, they could get a brand or a sub-brand and let it go. And the artistic design, the inserts, all that stuff, they'd have a head start. That's probably the case here, and I think that's good. It's profitable to do that. I think it's helpful for collectors. They can recognize the brand. It demystifies, I had this other sport, so I know what's coming here. If the insertion ratios are similar, it can be easier for dealers to put prices on things. Back in the day with the price guides, it was difficult to get the initial pricing, and many dealers would not even price stuff, and they just waited for it to come out in the magazine. Sometimes they could sell some base cards, especially base cards of veterans with by their own, formula, whatever priced cards. But the rookies can be tricky, obviously. And when something's just come out, it's hard. And if it's a similar product to something else, you just get in trouble if you say the best player in basketball, the high basketball price is this, and then the best wrestler ought to be the same. It depends on the popularity of the sport and the production quantities and all that. But I do note that both of those Black Diamond products, I think, started out at $300 a box. And they float in the secondary market based on the distributors, the LCSs, and all that. Wrestling was released first, and it's actually floated down a little bit, and hockey has only been out a month or so. I got to tell you, I only got 5 cards in hockey, and actually not complaining. I realized people don't complain if they only get 5 cards, if they get the right 5 cards instead of 6. You're more affected by who you get because it's formulaic. You're going to get one that's autographed and one that's game used or a relic, and you're going to get a serial numbered and all this stuff with the various inserts and all that. So you're going to get 5 or 6 interesting cards, and they're not all the same thickness, but I couldn't tell when I opened it up, but I only got 5 cards. Again, not complaining at all because I got 5 good cards, and I did get a Dallas Stars guy that I can put on my wall. Then you go to the ADW, I got 7 cards there. So again, I don't think this is quality control disaster. It's just the insertion ratios and the variable thickness of the cards. I don't know. But the fact that I got 5 in one and 7 in the other, the average is 6. That's why the disclaimers usually are on the average. But in my 7 with the wrestling, I got 3 patches and 1. I always prefer game used or something that's not contrived. Prefer that over the manufactured patches. I still think the manufactured patches are very nice looking. But then I thank my sponsors, Topps, Panini, and Upper Deck. Thank you, Upper Deck, especially Heritage Auctions, Huggins Scott Auctions, Mike Stadium Sports Cards, Burbank Sports Cards, ComC.com, and Beckett Media, Beckett Grading, Beckett Authentications. I didn't go to the Upper Deck conference. I don't think I've ever been to that. I've been to some of the conferences of the card companies back in the day, but I never went to the Certified Diamond Dealer Conference. I think that was probably a month ago or so. If you got boxes of Black Diamond there, they had for a little bit higher price. And if you were there, they were 7 cards. One additional really good card would be in that. I didn't get that, but again, I'm not displeased. They're all good cards. I don't mind having base cards. There's something simple about just getting 6 cards in a pack, and every one of them is potentially a really good card. In fact, I look at it as, what if this card in this design were my favorite player? or a favorite player, and I'd really like it. So they're nice looking cards. Last month, I bought a bunch of retail blasters and jumbos and fat packs and all that kind of stuff. I'm not apologizing to Upper Deck, because if Upper Deck would have been in there, I would have opened it. But I bought Upper Deck the year before in one of my auction lots, but they were hobby boxes. But I'm not seeing much blaster action and retail action in this part of the country, obviously, or in the auction groups that I bid on. I'm very open to that because I'd like to see the difference in the hobby boxes and the retail boxes with Upper Deck, but I'm trying not to play favorites. I'm an equal opportunity buyer. And when I'm going through the dollar boxes, I'm just pulling things that are interesting. And that's fun too. The regionality of hockey, that's why I want to go up to Toronto. I did notice that Upper Deck in the same position that Panini will be in terms of having a sport or having to be nimble with respect to non-sport and the women's angle. Panini, I think if they lose some of their primary licenses, they're already making plans, I think, for doing some of the things that Upper Deck are doing. I think the companies learn from each other. I hope they don't blatantly copy each other, but it's an industry where I'm hoping every one of the companies thrives. I don't want to see companies go under. I don't like to see them do poorly. It's not about the ideation. It's about the execution. So if they can put out great looking cards and price them right, then I hope they have great success. I also got the Goodwin Champions, and I have enjoyed that in the past. I still enjoy it. I'm getting used to it now. This was the 2024 15 packs of 5. Same thing. I got one pack with only 2 cards. And again, that's good because they were 2 extra thick cards, which is a good thing. I don't want to judge cards. In fact, people ask me how many cards I have, and I basically can only say how many monster boxes I have or how many double shoes or triple shoes I have. I'm not going to count cards. But when you get a pack with 2 cards, it's usually because they're extra thick, which means they've got relic or patch or some other treatment that's premium. After a few years of doing this, I'm not as excited about the base cards within the Goodwin Champions. The fact there's so many different sports, I think they have difficulty capturing the essence of the sport. So I'd like to see a little more design creativity in the base. It makes the base not very appealing to me. And even though it's called Goodwin Champions, it's Goodwin Future Champions plus some Upper Deck stalwarts. There's Michael Jordan's going to be in there. Tiger Woods going to be in there. LeBron James not in there anymore. I got a couple of Michael Jordans in there. He's definitely a champion. Some of the other guys are at best future champions. Some young players from different sports, some of whom may make it, and that'll be exciting if they do. And when it's Goodwin Champions, I also got one obligatory literary non-sport card, which I already had that cultural understanding of the book that it referenced. But for somebody that wouldn't, they would say, hey, that's cool. And then they might dig in and Google it or find out what's going on. And then lastly, I was going to talk about the PWHL first edition 2024. I noticed that David Adams is sold out. They're wanting to buy. They're offering to buy at $130 a box. And it just came out a week and a half ago. Now, I don't know that the demand is so great for women's hockey other than this is the next thing. And it's a premier product. And frequently premier products have gone up in value. There's some thought that this is a underproduced product. Well, of course it's underproduced compared to men's hockey that's been around for a really long time. They've got the young guns in there, 12 packs of 6 cards, which means the 12 packs you've got 5 base cards and then one that's either a young gun or one of the inserts. So you got 12 good cards and then 60 base cards. I noticed on eBay that people can pretty easily put together the base sets of 1 to 50 and try to sell those off and get half your money back or something from the set. But you're going to need to buy 5 boxes, I think, from my experience, to get a chance at getting all the young guns. The problem I have with this set is I really haven't heard of a lot of the players of the women's hockey. And what I'm asking myself is that my fault? Number one, I don't see them on the news, on the highlights. I don't see them in the original games. Can't do everything, but it's hard for me to get very serious about collecting unless I see or hear about the player. And that's the challenge of women's sports. I'm delighted that women's sports are getting more visibility. Our culture is trying to make sense of when somebody talks about being woke, it means different things to different people. There's a racial wokeness and there's a gender wokeness, and they just mean different things. So if you're not clear about what you mean, some people mean you're going to discriminate in favor of a group or not discriminating. And I just think the beautiful thing we have in our hobby is that we can let the secondary market decide. So I'm delighted that we've got women's professional hockey cards out there, and we will see what happens. We'll see what the demand is, and maybe that'll help promote the sport, and that would be terrific. but I don't know at this point who the good players are. So I guess I'll just hold on to them. Same thing with the Goodwin Champions. I really can't team sort them. I can't player sort them because I don't have enough. If something is just a base card, if it's a young gun, I suppose I'll sit on them for a little while and just come back to them in a few months because I'll be tuned in now. Think, what have I heard? Is there something I should be looking for? I noticed they had Dazzlers, which I know from my hockey openings, all that hockey stuff I bought 6 months ago, that the blue Dazzlers are the easy ones, but I think that's the only thing they have there. I like it when products have a continuity or brands have continuity. So if the professional women's is mirroring or similar design and inserts to the NHL, to me, that's a good thing. I have one more sports card insight here. When I opened up the PWHL box, it was much simpler than what I get in certain other products. I've realized the complexity of the product is frequently proportional to the print run. So the more you make, the more you're going to run the presses, the more you have to have complexity, and you have the ability to add a bunch of different tiers of serial numbered and different color variations and other kinds of things because you have a higher print quantity. If you don't have a big print quantity, you haven't run the presses enough to get all your various inserts into the packs in the proportion that makes sense. That's another situation of being careful what you wish for. I mean, if they're going to print 1 million cards, they're going to have a level of complexity that's not as much as if they print 10 million cards. And they've got to fill up those 10 million cards. And it can't be all with just base cards. And they can't eliminate base cards. Whatever card is easiest in the pack is going to be considered like a base card. The traditional way of doing it, if somebody can come up with a way of doing it, I don't think we want to go back to the day of one card packs. In fact, that is probably a way to get regulation that is, at least to me, wanted. So thank you, Upper Deck, for giving me a positive experience. And I will be tuned in to women's hockey to figure out what's going on there. And so I have a delayed reaction there. And like I say, in the culture, I am anti-discrimination. I want people to be judged on their merits, but I like to give people a chance. I like to give products a chance. If they underprint it, then it's going to be hard to get. Hopefully, then they can build the market as they go. That's been the tried and true way to do it. So again, thanks Upper Deck, and thanks collectors, whether you're hockey, wrestling, women's, whatever you are, just enjoy the hobby and find your lane. Thanks. Man in the house